Warning.
The opinions expressed in this content are those of the host and its guests.
Services allow
10, 9, 8,
Every call is
7,
ballistic.
6,
Things the fire service can't stand here.
Four,
Created new account.
3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? My name is Isaac. I am the host of Tales from the Tailboard Podcast, where we have honest conversations about the job and what follows us home. This isn't about hot takes or highlight reels. It's about understanding the mindset behind the uniform. Tonight's guest brings a perspective that doesn't stop at one uniform. From the military to the hospital, they've seen trauma in real time, and now they work on the side of helping first responders and veterans deal with what sticks long after the call is over. So let's get to it. My guest today is Melissa Carr. She comes out of Pennsylvania. And Melissa, will you take a second and go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the people why you belong to be here?
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I don't think I belong to be here, but I am honored to be here. I think anytime a first responder invites me to sit at their table, even for a few minutes, it's an honor. So I'm appreciative that you wanted us to have this discussion about why trauma treatment is so important, especially for first responders, veterans, combat veterans. You all are my favorite type of people, but the hardest type of people to get on my couch or in my chair. So I was thrilled. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can you tell people what you do for a living?
Yes, so I am a trauma therapist. So I work with clients who have experienced complex trauma. I would say 50% of my clients are first responders who have had years of complex trauma stacked on each other. And by the time you come to see me, you're pretty advanced because I specialize in all bottom-up therapy approaches, which is EMDR, internal family systems, somatic experiencing. So I'm not just the girl you come to when you have a little anxiety or a little depression. I'm the person you come to when your life has stopped. Mm-hmm. And then I would say the other half of my clients are veterans, combat veterans, or people who've had extreme sexual trauma. So I spend all day working with people to rebuild and also to learn how to stay in the present, because almost all trauma survivors live in past and future. Very few are in present. So I get to hang out with you all day.
Oh, yeah. So, guys, we got 7 loaded questions for you. And Melissa she's been awesome. She's on TikTok as, what's your handle?
Therapy with Melissa.
Oh, yeah. And I watch her content all the time. It's great. She has everything from stuff about herself to others to just everyday motivational stuff that you need to hear. But before we get started, I need to let you know something. This podcast is not sponsored. I don't take any money from anybody, anywhere, anytime, anyhow, to tell you that tells me what to say, how to say it. If it hurts your feelings, I apologize. We are brash around here. We will say what needs to be said as it's said. If that gets me shadow banned or it hurts the algorithm's feelings, so be it. We're here to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. So, that being said, we're going to start off with question number 1. Let's talk about the stuff we don't say out loud. The dark humor, the emotional shutdown, even drinking. Are those coping mechanisms helping us survive, or are they quietly making things worse?
Well, I love this question because I worked in this space for 16 years. And when I came in, it was just this idea of like, that's how first responders are. It wasn't even like a discussion. Is it a coping skill or not? It was like, this is just part of what it is. And as we've done a lot more work in the trauma field and in the education field of mental health, like we can identify, it doesn't have to be the way you are. Mm-hmm. So I fell in love working with first responders when I worked in a substance use inpatient facility. And they found that first responders were a certain unique clientele that needed their own unit. And you can take from that what you would like. But it was this idea of like first responders operate in such a different way that they can't be part of the general milieu.
Mhm.
And I had the privilege of working on the first responder unit, and not being a first responder myself, I was bullied mercilessly by the first responders.
What gives you the right to be in our
Yes.
space?
Yes. And that circles back to what you said earlier. Like, why should you be here? And it's like, I don't have a right. I have an honor to be here alongside of you.
We appreciate
And
that. I mean, I know
yeah,
I do. I'm not going to speak for all first responders, but if I've met someone like you and they said, and I was like, well, okay, I want to get to know you. Why should I trust you? And you said, well, first off, I don't deserve to be here. It's an honor to be here. I'm gonna, I don't know. It kind of feels like a thank you for my service, but in the same sense, I don't like that to begin with. I mean, I'm prideful about my job. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm wearing fire gear right now, Green Country Fools. I support firefighters. I am a firefighter. I am an EMT. There are some people, like I talked to Chappie. You told me, you listen to that. He does not like to wear firefighter or anything off duty, and that's how some people are. Me, I love it. I mean, it's not a, hey, look at this, thank you for my service. It's a, I'm proud of what I do, and that does not mean Chappie is not proud of what he does. It's just how he tends to cope, I guess you could say.
yep,
I mean,
yeah,
we had this conversation. There was more to it than just that, but I mean, there's a, I want to be recognized. I don't want to be recognized, but for me, it's not recognition. It's just I'm proud. I mean, I love doing this. I love waking up every day. I mean, will it change 15 years from now? I don't know, but I know right now, every moment of it, I love it, and I'm not going to let my passion die because someone said, "Hey, you're rescue Randy because you wear gear and you're proud." Okay, cool. I'm still going to do it.
that's awesome. No, I think that's cool. And I think it's good that everyone has their own relationship with it. And so working in that unit, it gave me the toughest skin possible
Mm.
because my clients would rip me a new one every day, but it became this wonderful banter of like they would rip me and then I would rip them. And I think that's how we built the relationship,
You
because
definitely earned your spot.
first responders will not trust you with anything real if they don't think you can handle like the ribbing or the dark humor or
I've seen
whatever it
people
is.
make something up completely, like make something up that was very bad, just to see how you would react because it didn't
Mm-hmm.
bother them, right? It wasn't a real scenario. They would make something up completely to see, hey, how are you going to react? And that happened to me as a rookie. Like, hey, do you have the stomach for this?
Yeah,
And so that's
handle it.
I could see them doing that to you. You not being in fire, you don't know anything about it, and they're like, well, we're going to test the waters and see what she can and can't handle.
Exactly. And I just fell in love with this population. It's raw, it's real,
Hmm.
and I can talk to you all in a way I want to. Like, I also don't want to like pussyfoot around the real
Hmm.
stuff. Like, you're telling me you don't have a drug and alcohol problem. You have 17 DUIs.
Mm.
You've gotten divorced 3 times. You have, all this legal problems. Like, what are we talking about? Where in grad school, they teach you like roll with the resistance, like ask open-ended questions. And that just has never been my style. I've been like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? And that works really well with this population. So I fell in love working with first responders and veterans in inpatient drug and alcohol treatment.
Mm.
And then that kind of advanced over the years. And that's how I got more specialized in trauma care, because I was doing talk therapy for a long time. And I was like, this is just a band-aid. Like, we're not
Mhm.
getting to the core stuff. And that's how I became more advanced and certified and all the other education stuff and trauma work. But the drinking and all of that is a huge coping skill I see with my clients. The dark humor, the deflection, all of that, all the stuff that makes you good at compartmentalizing on the job is the stuff you have to learn how to separate in your home life.
Mhm.
And I think when people can do that, they're the long-term veterans, right? That can be, at the firehouse forever. But when you can't separate it and it all becomes one is when we
Mhm.
have more mental health impacts.
Now, I want to bring something about the drinking, right?
Yeah.
Is that a blanket statement? I mean, does that mean that that's an issue for all firefighters, or do some drink because they just like to drink? I mean, can we expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for that clarity. I don't think I can make a blanket statement about anything, right?
Mm.
So some people can drink, some people can drink heavily. I think the why is the most important part. So why am I drinking after shift? Am I drinking because it's so and so's retirement and I want to kick back with them? Am I drinking because the game's on and I want to enjoy a few beers? Or am I drinking because we had 5 really hard calls and I'm not going to be able to get to sleep unless I turn my brain off? So
Yeah, I could see that.
the why is more important to me than the how much or the how often. And I think when I was coming into the field, it was just this idea that after every shift you went to the bar. It was just if you had
That's where
to
the boys
kind of,
hung out.
yeah, and
Yeah.
if you had, if you had to do stimulants or you had to do other substances to keep yourself moving, it was acceptable. And now I think it's like, hey, we could also give you other things to make it acceptable. Back 16 years ago, it was like you just had to be machines and go, 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 go. And
Mhm.
there was no option to stop for therapy. You were looked at as weak or like you weren't going to get promoted. Or my military guys are like, do not have that in my jacket. Like, do not diagnose me with something because I'm going to get locked up here. So that's when people had to go more towards substance use. That was their only option. I think in the past, 5 years, it's gotten
Mhm.
a lot better where you have more options. It's not
But
perfect by any means.
do you mind if I touch on that? What you just
Yes,
said?
please.
You said, please don't put that in my jacket, because I had that same conversation with my therapist. So me and you off screen, I'm not going to go into a big story on here because some people know, some people don't, but it's fine. We talked about the divorce process I'm going through, right? When it first happened, I was distraught. I mean, I knew it was over. It is what it is. And I was just going through it. Well, I finally decided to try to get some help. I called the EPA, or I can't remember what it's called.
EAP, you're close,
EAP,
yeah.
yeah. And I said, hey, I'm broke. I don't have very much money. I mean, at this point, I'm not a full-time firefighter. I'm a volunteer, and I'm working full-time at my aircraft job. And I called him. I was like, hey, I need some help. I need to go talk to somebody. So once a week, I went to go talk to somebody for like the first 3 weeks, and I remember her trying to diagnose me, and she wanted to do EMDR and like all this other stuff, and I eventually didn't do it because um, just that scenario. But long story short, I'm trying to get to the point here. I remember bluntly telling her, if you take away fire from me, and I was just a volunteer, I don't do this full time, I don't do it every day, right? But as much as I care for the job, I told her point blank, I said, I'm at my wit's end with everything that else that's going on. That if you take this away from me and they ban me not safe to do fire, I will end it all. I'll be done. Do not take this away from me. And are you familiar with the mental wellness summit we went to in North Carolina? So we went there, and I was on stage with my other TikTok creators, with Cameron and everybody. And we had the mic pass around, and a clinician asked us, what can we do to better help you? And my response to him was, quit telling us to quit the job. We don't need that. We don't need you to tell us to quit doing what we love to do. That makes us want to end it more than anything else. The job's hard, but when you say, hey, you're useless, you need to stop doing this, find something else to do, we can't.
And that's an ignorant statement too, to tell you to quit the job, because if you are a first responder or a veteran, it's more of a calling. It's more of a passion. This isn't just any old job you picked out. I mean, I don't think you all could do this type of work if it was just a job. It runs way deeper than that. And people get called into the helping profession to serve a purpose, whether it's internally or externally. So I think that that's kind of an ignorant thing that people throw out there.
But
So I
it's
appreciate.
real.
Oh, I know it's
Because
real.
think
And
about the cops with the badge and the gun. I mean, why do you think a lot of them choose not to get help? Because they're going to get their badge and their gun taken from them, and they don't want that.
yeah,
The
it
moment
is.
they admit they're weak, they feel like they're done, and that's because the stigma that's in the field of, hey, you can't come out and say anything because once you do, you're weak.
And I was speaking, you mentioned Cameron, who mental health medic, who's a buddy of mine. I was commenting on one of his recent posts because he was talking about the stigma around substance abuse too. And I was talking about, I do some work with the World Health Organization. And when all of the research came out about 9/11 and the subsequent trauma response and how and why people passed away, they didn't code any of the first responders with having substance abuse issues or suicidality. Everything was coded as like a lung issue or a cardiac issue or this or that, which yes, played an impact for sure. But I think we also do a disservice to you all when we don't speak about things appropriately. You started off the podcast by saying, like, I'm going to say whatever I need to say, even if it messes up the algorithm. Like, we have to talk about suicidality. We have to talk about substance use treatment. And when you say no one died as a result of that from this horrific incident, how could people not have had substance use issues and suicidality when they experienced and saw such horrific things? We know that that's not true, right? So that's another piece of this. We can't just help people get out of the field. We have to support them in the field.
They do that now, though. I mean, it's a completely different topic, but think about COVID. When people were dying in COVID, they were like, oh, they died of COVID. Oh, it wasn't because they were 450 freaking pounds. It wasn't because they were an alcoholic with failing kidneys. It's immediately COVID killed them. Okay, it was a contributing factor, sure. But what other comorbidities did they have? And so it's an ongoing thing that we suffer even today, that it seems like nobody is learning from, or if they are learning from it or they have learned from it, they are just being ignorant. So what do you do?
I think people like you are really helping move the needle forward. I think people who are going back to their, their firehouse or their EMS job or whatever their job, and they're like, oh yeah, I was talking to my therapist, blah, blah, blah. Even that little sentence is massive. Like, you don't have to preach that everyone should be in therapy. That's not going to work anyway. But it's this idea in the recovery world, they talk about attraction versus promotion, right? Like, live your life in a way that attracts people to come to you. Don't shove it down their throat. And I think the same thing with like mental health. Like, if you're, taking care of yourself and you're not having PTSD, freakouts, you're sleeping, you have a lovely relationship with, your partner and your kids, like, that's all of that attraction, not promotion, right? And I think as people start talking about what's actually working for them, that really helps. And I think all of the mental health creators are amazing, but I'll say it, I think you men, mental health creators, are really moving the needle forward. We need it because they're used to women talking about mental health. They're used to women being therapists. They're used to women saying it's okay to have feelings. Like, you need someone like you and like Cameron and like Chappie, who are like tough guys.
We appreciate it. I mean,
yeah,
but I got to be honest and say up front, I've said this multiple times, and I feel like I'm being pushed into this field, not by you by any means, but just like in general. Like I said, okay, my podcast isn't a mental health podcast, right? It's a first responder podcast. But, okay, the caveat is, it seems like 90% of what I talk about has to do with mental health because first responders deal with mental health, just like anybody else does. And when you talk about, I guess the reason why there's not a ton of different firefighter podcasts out there, which if you go look them up, sure, you're going to find a bunch. But what do 99% of them have to do with? Questions about the job and how you felt after the job, and what does that lead into? So.
Yeah. And I think it's like, if you want to help your firefighters, which is great, you need to give them all the tools. So this is one of the tools. In addition to taking care of your body, you have to take care of your mind. And I love that you're speaking about it. I think people talk about eating like healthy and clean and organic, but then they don't want to go to therapy. And like therapy is like eating clean for your mind. It's like going to the gym for your mind.
So if you had a firefighter sitting in front of you who says, I'm fine, I just don't sleep well and I'm always on edge, where do you even start with something like that?
I laugh when you say that because all of my first responders start that way. And they all start with saying, like, I didn't want to come see you, but, and then they give me the reason of who made them come see me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, talking about the way the personality type is, I tend to rib them back, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like they come in with this attitude of like, everything's fine. I don't need to be here. I was just forced to be here. So I kind of ribbed them back, like, a little making fun of each other. But I think we like zoom out, right? So like, what is impacting you? What is like, we're not going to go right to the trauma because you don't trust me yet, nor should you. That takes time. And we have to build up some safety before you'll even let me go in there. So we start with lower level things. So it's like, my girlfriend's making me come because I'm screaming at her all the time. All right, let's start with that. We build from there. And once you build trust and safety, this population, it takes a minute to get in, but once you're in, they will give you everything. And they are the most loyal, wonderful, intelligent people, funny. So you have to go slow at first. And then once you get in, it's like, all right, cool, we can rock it out. And I think a lot of therapists make the mistake of like, day one, what's your worst call? Day one, why can't you sleep? What are the nightmares? And I don't need vivid details. That's not good for either one of us. And two, I'm not going to push you to go there because I don't even know your nervous system yet. I don't know what's going to flood you. I don't know.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
I don't know your nervous system.
And so trauma work in the beginning is slow. It's slow and smooth. And then once we get in and there's trust, you will give me everything I need to. But it takes a minute to build that safety. So in the beginning, I'm talking about your wife. I'm talking about your chief. I'm talking about the probie that you hate, but you see a lot of yourself in him and he annoys you, but he's kind of cool, and that none of that's a waste of time.
Or how all the 15, 20-year guys treat you like the probie, even though you've been on for a little bit. And it's like, I get it. Yes. I'm new to this department, but I'm not new in general.
Exactly. And it's trust. I have a first responder client. I have a fire client now who the first 7 minutes of every session, he rips me. And we have enough safety, but it just makes him happy. And it gets his nervous system ready to do work. And it's like, the first year I was okay with, like, I gave it back a little bit, but now we like rip each other. It's like, I've like thought of my insults all week. Like, I can't wait. But it's that like, hey, we're going to have fun, but then we're going to do really deep work. And then when we come out of it, he makes fun of me on the way out. But that's his way of containing, right? And so for anyone thinking about going into therapy as a first responder, I would find a trauma therapist because you will know you have to go slow. If I asked you day one what your worst call was, you would never come back. I would 100%. Hope. Yeah, I would hope.
That's what everybody gets told. In the military, what is the one thing somebody in the military always gets asked? You ever kill anybody? And it's like, why is that the first question that's always asked? And for first responders, what's the worst call you've ever been on? It's like, you don't want to know that. You're just asking because that's what the general populace does. It's kind of like when I'll bring up Demon Hunter, this famous thing that came up for a while, right? And I have this big thing that I always think about. I'm like, you know what? It's not as popular as people let off. It's not as good. Some people may genuinely actually like it, right? And but you have other kids liking it because one of their friends liked it. Maybe they don't. If they sat down and watched it without influence, Would you
Right.
like it? Right.
Right.
And so I say that to, and I think people understand without going into a big description of what I'm saying here. I think people understand that if you really sat down and talked to yourself, if I need therapy, right, without any outside influence telling you that you're weak or that, oh, men don't need that, or you're fine. If you didn't have any of that and it was just you and your thoughts and you asking yourself, do I need this? I think you would do it.
I love that. And then say, if you, that might even be too advanced of a question, do I need therapy, right? If you can't walk, like go for a 10-minute walk by yourself without any podcast or music or distraction, or if you can't be in the car for a minute by yourself without something on because you're afraid of your thoughts, that also might be an indicator, right? Or if like every time you're alone, something has to be on, like a TV or the podcast or music, that might be an indicator. It again goes back to the why. Now, when I'm in the car, my music's blasting. I'm having a concert because I like it, not because I can't sit with myself. So that can't sit with yourself is like a good indicator. I might need to throw this off someone else.
Oh, can I put a new spin on that for you?
Yeah.
Because this has happened to me. You're scared of not having any thoughts. It's too quiet.
Too quiet. Yes. Yes.
And then you start asking yourself, there's something wrong with me because I'm not having an internal dialogue. I'm not having anything that's telling me that, hey, you're screwed up, you're messed up. Nothing. You're just sitting there and it just seems too quiet.
Yeah. Calm is scary. Chaos is what we're used to, right? Especially as a first responder.
100%. So going into this next question, from your perspective, what actually happens in a first responder's brain after repeated exposure to trauma, and why does it hit differently than a single critical incident? So I guess acute versus chronic.
Yes, I love this question. And it's actually not my opinion. We have a lot of science behind it. If you ever have a minute, look up a PET scan, a brain scan of someone pre-PTSD and post-PTSD. So your brain system actually changes with trauma. So your amygdala, your threat response system actually gets bigger. We see it in scans. It's amazing and terrifying all at once. It actually increases. So you're assessing for fears more often. And also your frontal lobe, where you're making the decisions, you're having that impulse control, that shrinks a little bit. Now we can get this back. Don't panic. But think about it. That works really well on a fire call because I can run into a burning building. I can search through the house when like things are breaking and falling and danger's happening. That part of my brain is quiet and I'm just assessing the scene. My danger system's on high alert. So I know if a dog's up there, a kid's up there, the wife's in the back, I'm getting everyone out.
I'm doing it right now as you're speaking. Like I'm in my head, like pretending I'm in the house and I'm like thinking.
Yes. You probably notice your adrenaline's increasing, right? Even as we're talking about this. You feel a little increased heart rate, a little more energy, maybe
I'm
little
just thinking
bit.
I'm like, okay, I'm in the house. There's smoke everywhere. That's low visibility. I'm low to the ground. I'm doing a right-handed sweep, and I'm just going through. Okay, what sounds do I hear? I'm hearing a dog bark. Okay, the dog's upstairs. Okay, what else am I hearing? I'm hearing fire crackling. It's so loud. What else am I hearing? Okay, there's things breaking. It's falling. It's shattering. There's wood that's creaking. There's everything around you. There's water being here. There's radio communications being blasted in my ear. There's command going on. There's just all these other forces that are now complicate the scene. And I'm like, okay, cool. There's like a million things I'm thinking about at once while trying to also like, here's where my brain wants to be because I'm thinking of everything, right? But when I'm inside that house and I'm, thinking about or trying to stay in one zone, I'm shrinking it down to where it's like right here. Like this is my focal point. And I'm going, okay, what do I hear? And it's like I'm not staring at it, but it's in my peripheral vision. I can basically just see it as I'm focused on something else. Like I can see my hand right here, but I'm looking straight ahead. And it's like, okay, well, I get that that's here, but I'm focused on what sounds do I hear. Okay, here's the main mission, but here's the dog. I can hear and see the dog in the peripheral vision. I know it's there. And I'm just like, I'm running through these scenarios as you're saying it.
I love that you expanded on that, because you also talked about how all your neural pathways
Mhm.
are wired to take you right into the scene.
Mhm.
So the amygdala is bigger, the frontal cortex is getting tightened up, your neural pathways are firing. So all of that works so well when you're on the scene.
Mhm.
What happens is it doesn't automatically turn off when you leave the scene.
Mhm.
So then I get home and say my girlfriend, her phone keeps going off,
Mhm.
text messages, and my threat detection is still bigger.
Mhm.
And my critical thinking is not as sharp. I'm now thinking she's cheating on me.
Mhm.
I'm now thinking, show me that phone. I'm now thinking everything I do for this household, no one cares.
Mhm.
You can see
You're
how
preaching my life at the moment.
you can see how it can get you in trouble, right? What
Mhm.
serves you well at work will not serve you well at home if you don't separate. I have, while I'm not a first responder, working in an inpatient psychiatric and substance use unit for over a decade, I definitely have an increased amygdala myself and from some personal life experiences. So when I am at the park with my godchildren, I am not enjoying them on the
High alert.
swings. I am on high alert and I am assessing. And keep in mind, I also work with a lot of sexual abuse clients.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering why that guy is down the way
Oh
in
my
the
God.
park.
It happens all the time.
Yep. And
I'm like, what
I'm
is this creep doing? Like, what? He's just sitting there staring. Like, what's his problem? And it's just another dad.
it's just another dad. But if I can't put together who his kid is, my brain is already making a plan. How am I going to get these two out or beat him up
That is
or
so
whatever
freaking
I need
real.
to do? But you can see how that leads to trouble, right? Because I'm locked in on the threat. I'm not locked in on pushing my godchildren on the swing, or I'm not enjoying that moment of together time, or I'm missing when they're like, Melissa, come play with me. And I'm like, no, they're going to read that as I don't love them, or I don't like them, or I'm annoyed with them,
Mhm.
when really it's the opposite. So again, you can see how chronic PTSD can start to remove our personality and just make the focal point just safe.
Yeah, I can see that a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to
So
bring
go
up
ahead.
one more thing. Sorry. You mentioned PTSD. I assume I can't be the only one, and if I am, then I'm just sadly mistaken. But when I was going through my divorce, like I was saying about, right? I got told by my therapist at the time, and I was going through all my child past experiences, and she was like, "You're dealing with PTSD." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What do you mean I'm dealing with PTSD?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It's your childhood stuff. It's basically just that's why you're yelling. That's why you're doing all this stuff." And I was like, "PTSD is for soldiers, like that. The people that get blown up over there and lose legs and they deal with like war stuff. Like that's PTSD. Like I got yelled at as a kid and watched my parents fight and other crap like that. And I was like, so like that's not PTSD. Like no." And I was um, hard headed to think that and I thought I was dumb because I went to other people. I went to like actual veterans because I went to a bar and I drank, and I wasn't drinking to cope anything. At least I didn't think I was. I still drink today, and I don't do it to hide anything. But anyway, I'm in the tavern over in Skytook, and I'm like talking to the guy that I know and I know for a fact he's a veteran. I'm like, like I just don't get it. I was like, my therapist said I got PTSD, but like that's for war stuff. He was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, am I wrong? Like, isn't PTSD for veterans? He's like, no. He goes, PTSD is for everybody. Like, you can have PTSD. He goes, do I agree with that? It's overused because that's what my thought process. Like, it's over. I wouldn't say overdiagnosed. I think it's over self-diagnosed.
Yes.
And do I think it might be overdiagnosed in general? Maybe a slight bit because not every diagnosis coming from a doctor can be. It's not 100% weight in gold. Put it that way. But there's a lot of people who say, well, I have PTSD. And it's like, okay, but they were never like diagnosed by a doctor with PTSD. They're just saying, hey, I dealt with stuff and I have PTSD. Anyway, long story short, I want you to kind of break in that if you can, like the different types of PTSD, and like maybe help out the younger person that's like me who thought like, I don't have PTSD. That's for somebody who went to war. My daddy went to war. I didn't go to war.
Right. Right. I love that you're bringing this up. That is a very old school idea that it has to be war. And there also used to be this idea of big T, little t trauma. Big T being like 9/11, war, famine. Little t being like this massive car accident. We have since stopped big T, little t trauma talk in our world because we have learned that everyone's nervous system handles things differently. So, I watched your episode with Cameron and with Chappie and a few other people.
Thank you.
Yes, I love it. You, me, Cameron, Chappie, we could all be sitting in a restaurant, God forbid, and there's an active shooter situation. And all four of us are going to walk out of it with a very different nervous system response. Cameron's probably scanning the entire room with his military background. You and Chappie are probably assessing, the most critically injured on the scene. And I'm probably worried about the waitress who just got terrified because this happened when she was working.
That's a good point.
So all four of us are going to have a different emotional response to it. It's not what happened, it's how it sits with you, right? So you use the example of it's not war. It's just my parents fighting when they were getting divorced. That actually is more impactful in your nervous system than a war. Because a war is like, I know I'm going into danger. I don't know the extent or how awful or all of that, but I know I'm going into danger. When I'm a little kid coming downstairs and I see my parents screaming at each other in the kitchen, my nervous system's not prepared for that. It's much scarier and much more impactful.
What do you do when you got used to it?
That's why you got a little chronic. That's why the quiet's a little scary for you, right? Because I'm not going to go to therapist
No,
mode
you're
into
good.
you.
I
'Cause this isn't your
actually like
session.
this a lot, and it'd be
Yes.
great for off-camera stuff.
Yes, let's talk. But when you get used to it, and again, I'll be mindful because this is your podcast, not your session.
Oh, no, you're
You
good.
probably
Feel
mirrored
free.
some of those. You probably mirrored some of those behaviors in your other relationships because that's what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And then-
my girlfriend, future wife now, she was like, quit yelling at me. And I was like, I'm not yelling. I was like, you want to know yelling? My ex-wife, I yelled at her all the time and made her cry. Am I proud of that? No. But that's the truth, and that's what happened. And now I'm like very mild compared to, because I kind of feel like I learned from that situation. And will I get stern? Yes. But am I screamed at her like I did my last relationship? No. But she's like, quit screaming at me. And I'm like, I'm not screaming at you. And it's her. She's like, well, how do you know that's not screaming to me?
And if she grew up in a family that was like icy cold or didn't talk about anything, even you being like, babe, we talked about this, can feel like a big redirection where you're like, I'm not even screaming. I haven't thrown anything. I haven't cursed.
That sounds like a conversation that's already happened.
Like, I was there at the dinner table last night. No, you know what I'm saying? Like, but again, this goes to say, and I do think people overuse PTSD, but I do think we do need to respect everyone's nervous system. So going back to your thing, I think that it's how your nervous system handles it is the PTSD response, and your ability to talk about it sooner than later. So we know with trauma, and especially with first responders and military, the sooner you can talk about it, the less impact it has. So I use the idea of like, when you leave your dishes in the sink overnight and you don't scrape them off, the food is like slammed on there when you do finally try to wash it off. And it's like you have to scrape and it makes
Do you
a
know
loud
how many
noise.
times I've asked them, please wash the plates before you put them in here?
Exactly. It makes it so much harder. Whereas, like, if, the minute you're done with your food, you scrape it right into the trash can, it comes off so much cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the difference. So, I have a good friend of mine. He's a flight
I like
medic.
that analogy. Holy crap, I like that analogy. That's good.
Good.
Like the
it's how
dinner
the
plate
brain.
analogy. If you
Yeah.
cleaned your plate off right when it happened, you wouldn't deal with so much trauma. But if you wait for the trauma to harden, crusted on that plate, now it's going to make loud, scratchy noises when you try to get it off. Guess what? The dishwasher, aka therapist, I don't do that. Don't put those two together. You viewers, you try to put dishwasher and therapist together, I'm going to no. Sorry. But the analogy, right? The dishwasher is not going to get all that crud off the first go round. You're going to have to keep going and keep going and keep going. You're going to have to put some work into it yourself too, because once you go to rewash it, you can't just throw it back in there and expect it to work. Now you're going to have to go behind the scenes and do some work with what the dishwasher therapist told you to do, right? And then go back and say, "Hey, I made progress," right? Can you clean me? And that's such a stupid analogy when it works.
No, I love it. Can I tell you a brief story about some of that dark humor too that'll
go ahead.
like tie this all together? So a good buddy of mine is a flight medic and former military, current flight medic. And a couple years back, he had a horrific call on his birthday, and he ended up losing 3 people on a call.
Hey, I hate
Awful.
those.
Awful. And this is like the kindest soul, very sweet, gentle, kind soul.
I'm in the aviation world, so like especially when aviation wrecks happen, I'm just like
Awful.
Yeah.
I'll tell you some stuff offline too. But so on his birthday, lost 3 people, horrible. He comes back after, I'm laughing. It's an inappropriate laughter, but
You're
this
good.
is first responders. He comes back after the call, and his 3 other like coworkers are like, you can't kill people just because it's your birthday. And they start ripping him.
Oh,
And
man.
he's giving it back, and they're like, what's wrong with you? Like, just giving it to him, right? And not one therapeutic thing was said, but he does not have PTSD from that and can still enjoy his birthday because they cleaned it off right away.
He washed his plate.
Yep. And that's like a first responder's way of being like, hey, bud, are you okay? This was really hard. They're not really going to say that usually, but they're going to be like, bro, you can't kill people even though it's your birthday. Like, and that's their way, though, of being like,
Man.
Are you good? And that's that language, too, that as outsiders you have to get used to. Because
I like that, too, because if that bothered him, then you know right then and there that he needs help.
Exactly. So when we say you have to talk about your mental health, or you have to talk about a really hard call or a really recent traumatic incident,
Mm-hmm.
I think people have in their brains, like, you have to sit nicely on the recliners and talk about it. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to give each other shit. I'm asking you.
If I come in your office, I want to be relaxed. Like I want to lay back, kick out. I want the actual therapist, like that big long couch you see, and you're like,
Yes, I do have a big long couch. But I'm saying for you all at the firehouse or at the EMS, wherever, like you're still doing some trauma work if you're helping put it where it needs to go in your brain. And by having that little banter, it helps put it in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma is the most impactful when it can't be filed away. So when we have PTSD, it's because the past and the present are kind of merged in your brain. And the future is also getting brought in. So when they gave him shit after his really rough call, it helped put it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't coexisting the rest of his hitch. So that's some of that differential that we need to do. And old school was just like, put your head down, don't say anything. It was a horrible call. Just go to the bar and drink. And I'm sure they went to the bar and drank after that too. Mm-hmm. But they at least had that moment, right? Of you good? Okay.
All right, so we've got 3 minutes before you gotta get off here. But I'm gonna have you back. This has been a fun interview. I love it. I'd love to have you back on a second episode. I'm gonna ask you one last question, get to the rapid fire questions, and then we'll see you back on. A lot of us. Sorry, that's my baby in the background. She had shots today for immunizations.
Okay.
She's 4 months. She's trying to sleep it off right now. A lot of us don't feel broken. We just feel off, irritable, checked out, short fused. How do you differentiate between normal job stress and something deeper like trauma stacking?
Well, first of all, I don't believe any of us are broken by any means. I know I see a little smirk there. I know some people have different viewpoints on that. We can fight about that on the second episode. But I think, again, it goes back to, is it impacting me, right? So am I coming home and fighting with my girlfriend? Am I, going to war with the guy in the firehouse, the probie in the firehouse, or the old timer that's giving me a hard time? Am I getting more hostile and edgy and irritable? Those are usually the indicators to help you take the temperature. You talked earlier about how you can lock into the scene right away. Is it getting foggier and harder to do that? Those are indications that there's too much trauma stacking. And if you sit back and you're like, when was the last time I breathed easily? When was the last time I laughed? When was the last time I could have a beer just because I enjoyed it out on the porch and not slamming it down? Those are also good indicators of, I need to do a little inward inventory.
Absolutely. So thank you for being on the podcast. I want to end this with some 5 fun questions just about you. Coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee.
Early morning person or night owl?
Early if I had to. I'd rather be in the middle of the day.
I hate mornings. I used to love them, but my girlfriend now, she hates mornings, can't get up for crap, and I'm just
You have a baby. You have to get up in the morning then, yeah.
I have to. Favorite way to decompress after a long day?
Trashy Bravo show. Don't judge me.
Okay, we got it. What is it?
Below Deck is a favorite.
So Trashy Bravo shows. Okay. One word firefighters use that confused you at first.
It wasn't one word. I didn't know why they had those mustaches. I had to ask. I was like, what is the deal with this mustache that everyone has? And I was like, and I don't like it. What is going on? So sorry, it wasn't a word. It was the mustache choice. Yeah.
So I can tell I don't have one at the moment. And that's because my wife told me, my girlfriend, future wife, she's like, yeah, you're gonna shave that off. And I said, I'll do one for you. I said, I'll take it off until I get my dream job of a full-time firefighter. When I go full-time, I'm growing it back.
Patches on. It's part of the uniform.
But it's funny. Her picture for my profile picture, for my phone, when I call and stuff, is when I had my handlebar mustache down. And yeah, so point taken. If you weren't a therapist, what would you be doing now?
I would love to be a barista at a coffee shop. Oh, I would love it. It would make me so happy.
Not in the Navajo Nation with the dogs?
I would love to be in the Navajo Nation with dogs. Maybe I could work at a coffee shop there. They had tons of coffee shops that was coffee and your aura being read. That's what I would do.
There you go. Awesome.
I would read your aura with your coffee.
That's awesome. Good stuff. All right, guys, this has been Tales from the Tailboard Podcast, and this has been my guest, Melissa Carr. You know the podcast. If you haven't listened to it, please share it with a friend. If you have listened to it, please thank you and keep listening to it. Make sure you like it, comment, let me know what you want to hear next. And like I said, always on this podcast, the world is dangerous. Be safe out there. And if you're not, I'll see you soon.
Dispatch, medic 1, show medic 1 en route.